Good morning, folks. Welcome to Chassidus. As we're talking about Imi Achoisi, Biti Achoisi Imi, speaking about my daughter, my sister, my mother. Three different levels of divine service. Being a recipient through mitzvahs, that's a daughter. Being an equal, which is a sister, is the idea of learning Torah, which we're doing now, as Torah becomes part of us. And Imi, mother, who is, of course, the one who has the great self-sacrifice for the children, metaphorically means the sacrifice for God. And what we are explaining here in this mimer is the uniqueness of Biti, daughter. That there's something about that divine service that, although it's seemingly just a recipient, and it's the act of the doing of the mitzvah, not owning it, as in Torah, or not giving even more of giving of yourself, which is self-sacrifice, but merely the recipient in a certain way. Not only does it draw down a great light from above because it's precipitated from above, it's God's mitzvah, but even the person, there's a bittul, a self-effacement, self-nullification of the individual at a certain level is greater than even the sacrifice. So we need to understand this. How do we understand this idea? First of all, Baruch atah Adonai, Chaim,
Amen.
I invite you for David's coffee. That can't be virtual, though. Oh, he delivers locally. All right. So, Imi, mother, right, is the divine service of self-sacrifice, which, of course, that's self-effacement, self-sacrifice. And especially when we're speaking in our reference over here, the self-sacrifice of the Jewish people as they were at Mount Sinai, that they said, Nasa v'nishma, we will do, and then we will understand, which is, of course, sacrificing the human nature, human condition, the natural way of a person. You don't do anything without first appreciating it. Right? It's your mind that appreciates something. By your appreciation of it, then you'll have a feeling towards it. And here the Jewish people said, unlike the nations of the world that, God asked them, right? And God asked them. So they asked, well, what's in it? What? No murder? Esav said, we live by the sword, the descendants of Esav. Not steal. Descendants of Ishmael said, no. That's part of our way of life. And so on. So, and that's normal. That's natural. Hey, what's in it? You don't buy something until you know what's in it. But the Jews bought it lock, stock, and barrel. It's coming from God, so we want it. Nase. We'll do it, God. Nishma. That is a sacrifice, which comes from a bittul. A bittul to the one who wants it, God. And there's the reason why we are able to have that self-effacement is because it's not what he wants. Like we want him, and that's what he wants. Okay. By the way, in human relationships, especially husband and wife, right? You want your spouse to say, okay, I'll do that. You don't have to want what they want, right? Maybe that's not naturally what you would want, but you want them. Oh, that's what they want. Okay, fine. Okay. Now, this that the Jewish people were self-effacing, bittul, right? In prefacing, we will do, and then we will understand. It's that the Jewish people, they accepted upon themselves the yoke of heaven. It was they took it was their thing, so to speak, right? It was their decision. I don't know if decision is the right word. It was their action that was taken. Therefore, therefore, since it's their self-effacement of their acceptance of God and his, you know, his being the king, and we're accepting the king. So it doesn't just touch your actions, right? Because it's you choosing. So you? Well, you, the entirety of you, right? In other words, it's the fact that the Jewish people, they chose. So it's something, therefore, that is through and through the choice because it's of their choosing. In other words, wasn't they chose, and it was, they just did it as a mere, action, right? But it wasn't something that was in every fiber of their being. When you're talking about self-sacrifice, and you're choosing that self-sacrifice, it's something that it takes you through and through, because you're going beyond your nature, you're going beyond the human condition to rise above that. It's not, you just don't do something, right? You do it takes you over in a sense. That's what sacrifice, right? Through and through. That the entirety of the individual is that you're a servant of God. That's what self-sacrifice means. Your wish is my command, right? That's a servant of the King of Kings. Now, so, which then, of course, exalts Emi, motherhood, and the sacrifice that comes with it, as the mother gives of her entirety to the family, to the child, right? Not giving partially, So, but yet, and here's the nuance over here that's very subtle. Even though this sacrifice is something that takes a person through and through, again, like the metaphor of a mother and giving to the child, she does it with her entire being, right? It's not just an action, here's lunch. You're in a boarding school and the person who's giving you a lunch it's an action, right? I mean, obviously, a person can put more into an action and they can put the love into it, but in boarding school, and it's someone is just serving. I didn't give an example of someone in a restaurant because someone who serves you in a restaurant, they'll serve you with a smile because they want to get a nice tip afterwards. So that's not a good example. But the mother, she gives the entire being. But yet, this over here, that the references of the Jewish people, they give their entirety over to God. Nasav and Ishmael, we will do that. We will understand, right? That we're here, we're serving God. We're here to serve, right? Salute, whatever it is, King of Kings, we're ready to do it for you. Yet, the very fact that this is the choice that you made, right? And the choice over here is that I'm going to be dutiful. I'm going to be the servant. I'm going to put aside my agenda and to serve. Well, that comes from the person. The individual accepts, right? No, obviously, that makes sense, right? Which means there's a little bit of me in there in the fact that I'm making the acceptance of God, right? There's a little bit of my mitzias there. Which is similar to the self-sacrifice of the neshama for God. The reason why the neshama, the soul, is ready to sacrifice for God, because that's its nature, which means that's its makeup. So that's its mitzias, in other words. So it's coming from a something. Now, obviously, a very positive something over here, right? Because you're choosing to be the servant of God. The very fact that it's you choosing is a little, not in a negative way, even. I'm not saying this in a negative way. The Rebbe's not saying this in a negative way. There's a little bit of me there, right? Now, what is the true self-effacement? Well, there's no me there. What does that mean? It means the bittul is coming because of the master, not because of you choosing to be the servant of the master. The very fact that I'm choosing to serve God. I'm not going to serve idolatry. I'm not going to serve money. I'm not going to serve and be a codependent and serve another person. Right? I know the real truth. Serve God. He's the King of Kings. Why serve a king called money? Why serve a king called codependency? Why serve any other kings when I can serve the King of Kings? Right? And I'm choosing that. So that's a choice not based on the master. It's a choice that I make, that's what I want. But a deeper bittul, and that's, by the way, that's wonderful. It's amazing. Not to minimize that. That we all make that choice every morning. Hi. But there's something even a greater bittul, a greater self-effacement that the bittul is based on the master. Well, and let's explain what that means. So we can say this is the idea of what it says in Parshas Bahar, in Leviticus, the second Torah portion. It says, "Kili b'nei Israel avadim avadaihem asher tzeis Mitzrayim." That to me, the children of Israel, they're my servants. They're servants mine. That I took them out of the land of Egypt. So what's the verse saying? Why are we gods? Because we chose? No, because God chose. Not because we accepted God, right? But because God, He took us out of Egypt. He took us out of Egypt. So as a result of this, I'm getting the choice, but to be His servant. Huh?
Desperation?
No. I have no choice. Trying to find a good metaphor for this. Actually, maybe the good metaphor is what we learned in chapters 46 through 49 in Tanya, in the first part of Tanya, right? The king comes with his entourage, and he comes to and sees a simpleton living on a dunghill, and he doesn't send anybody else to help that person, but he himself goes and takes him out from there and brings him into um, his palace and brings him into the inner chambers where even the ministers don't go, right? And has a deep, profound relationship, which is what God means. He took us out of Egypt, right? And that's how we explained it. He takes us out of Egypt. And so, we're living on a dunghill, and God takes us out of Egypt is a dunghill. He takes us every day out of Egypt, our dunghill, right? Our dirt, our darkness, our self-imposed limitations. That's a dunghill. And he takes us out from there. The fact that he does that, like, wasn't because I chose him. He did it. He chose me, right? So you kind of almost forced to say, thank you. Like, would you not be? Is the thank you because you're such a wonderful individual? Or is it like, it's coming from the master, really? It's coming from the king. It's more about him than like how wonderful I am. When I'm choosing the king, when I'm making the choice, well, then it's how wonderful I am. I didn't choose the king. I didn't choose a king. I chose the king of kings. I didn't choose money over God. I didn't choose, you know, uh, pleasure over God, right? I chose God. I chose. It's a little me in there. That's a good part of me, but it's not a complete bittul self-effacement. But here we're talking about something very much profound, deeper in the bittul. He took me out of Egypt. So, of course, he took me out of the dunghill. He brought me into the inner chamber. Wow, I'm not going to be there for him? Is that like, did I really choose? I mean, look, that's not like I chose. Obviously, you're going to do it. That's powerful. That's a much greater bittul. Now, this was drawn to us by Matan Torah. Got it? What that means and how that translates. More to come. More to come. Psh, wow. I got, folks, I can't thank you enough that you come to learn every day. And I say this for actually in a selfish way. In a selfish way. I learned this over 2 times now to myself. And the nuance in what the Rebbe is saying, I didn't get properly until I teach it. Because you're here, you allow me to teach it. And the nuance, I understood, but the very subtle nuance over here, I didn't get it perfectly. And because I have to verbalize it, and because I have to, give it over properly, in doing so, it becomes so much more clarified. So I thank you for that. I thank you.